as what I do once we get the contract, generally I start with making sure we aren't waiting for a home inspection. And so if there's a home inspection and if there's plenty of time, then I generally wait to order the appraisal until the home inspection is complete. The benefit to that is to not, if they're not gonna go through to pass the home inspection, then we're not wasting money on the appraisal. In some instances, like I have one right now, that's a 2-week closing. They are doing home inspection for information purposes only. But we've gone ahead and ordered the appraisal. We were rushed. We ordered it yesterday. It's due back Monday for the rush. And so, once I order the appraisal, once I get it back, then we get notification that the appraisal is in and whether it's in at value and whether it has any repairs. From that point, I let the agent know that it's in at value and whether or not there are repairs, and then I send the appraisal to underwriting. So it's about a 24 to 48 hour window for that underwriter to complete that appraisal and that approval. If there's any issues at that time, then the underwriter is the only one allowed to reach out to the appraiser for possible changes that the underwriter might need. So that's where it starts. But that's, once then it goes to approval, and then, of course, then, everything is subject to whatever else the file is missing. But in the case that a file or that an appraisal does not appraise, we have to have confirmation from the buyer. We get a letter or email from the buyer stating that they wish to contest the value. And at that time, we send out what we call the reconsideration of value. We request this, the buyer has to request it, and then we send this to the buyer and the agent, and the agent have them fill it out, whether it's a buyer's agent or a listing agent. Then they go through the document. Either one can fill it out as long as the buyer signs off on it at the end that they are okay with the information. So first of all, the reason for that is because if the house appraises and it's undervalued, the buyer might not want to go forward if the house is not appraising at what we believe it to be worth or what you believe it to be worth. It's not, the sellers can't decide that for them. That is up to them if they want us to reconsider the value.
How long does your reconsideration of value take?
Once we get this, we usually see it within 48 hours.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I had another lender recently and it was 2 weeks. So it was like a big wrench and everything.
Yeah, and it really depends. I mean, the appraisers, they get a 48-hour window. Sometimes they'll ask, hey, I've got this and this, mine might be 72 hours, but very rarely do we see it past 72 hours. And keep in mind when I'm talking about this, it's for a conventional or an FHA file. VA has their own processes as far as the value. So on a VA loan, we won't even see the appraisal if it is not at value. The appraisal will invoke something called Tidewater, and Tidewater is, they call Tidewater, they notify the lender, and then we are required, without seeing whatever comps the appraisers are using, without knowing what information the appraiser already has, we have at that time the availability to go back to the buyer and the agent and ask if there's additional comps that they feel that help them determine the value. So VA is a completely different animal, but as far as conventional and FHA, this form gives you lots of information, tells you what we go through step by step. We can get up to 5 additional comps. We need at least 2 additional comps. I will also send a copy of the appraisal so that you already know which comps are being used, so you're not using the exact same comps. So the conventional and FHA is really what it's about here. Any questions on it? If they come back and the appraiser does not come back at value, then we always do have the option to get a second appraisal, but then both appraisals go in together to underwriting, and then underwriting makes the determination. And of course the buyer has to pay for that second appraisal. So
Can you tell me how you pick appraisers or how they're selected?
So when we first came over here to Guaranteed Rate, we had 10 appraisers that we had to go through our underwriting process and approval process. Since then, we've probably added, with the amount of volume we're doing, we've probably added another 10. good thing is that, you know, most of those appraisers were picked by either me, Neil, or Brad. There are a few appraisers on that list that maybe aren't as quick and, you know, it's really hard once you get them on the panel to take them off. Because you have to have up to 3 complaints and it can't be anything about values. And so, since most of our complaints come from values, you know, if we can prove that they're doing these appraisals wrong, that's one thing, but it can't come down to value. So that can't ever be our complaint if we ever need to pull something off. But there are, I mean, again, we have very few. Last time we had the appraisal panel, or the appraiser here, I was gonna say, oh my gosh, I haven't had a little appraisal all year, and then of course, then I get one that pops at $32,000. Well, thank God I didn't say that, cause it jinxed myself.
Those just rotate through then?
They do rotate, so
Okay.
Appraiser number 1 will get it 2, 3, 4, you know, there's no way I know who's in rotation, because we have a third party auditor that ordered a third party system that orders those appraisals for us. And I don't get to see who the appraiser is until after the appraisal comes back. And so the seller's agent and seller will know who that appraiser is long before I will ever know. And so, and I don't know what order the appraisers are in. I don't have spreadsheets on it. It's not worth my time. But there was one other thing I was gonna say. It came and it went. It'll come back to me, but I'll say it when I think of it. But at any point in time that you have an issue with an appraiser, you know, I would be your first contact on that, and then we would fill out a formal complaint, because without formal complaints, they can never be moved. But again, like I said, we've got great appraisers on here. We haven't had any issues. There's a couple of people that are a little slower than other people, and then keep in mind on the VA appraisals, VA is the only person that can select the appraiser. I have nothing to do with that. They're not on our panel. They're not in our wheelhouse. Some of them I see once every 10 years, you know. But they also use a round house system, so whoever's next on the panel. But a lot of times, you know, appraisers deny it, so then they move up to the next one. So sometimes we get an appraiser that we haven't seen in 5 years, so.
Just out of curiosity, what are other things that someone might file a complaint towards an appraiser on?
I have
That
one.
would be taken into account.
I have one appraiser that he's just a lot as far as personality. And so he tends to, like a buyer's like, I made him take his shoes off outside and he was mad, you know, or, I mean, it's the dumbest things, but he's just a different personality. So usually it's a personality issue with that one, but that's the only real complaints I've ever seen. Or, you know, not showing up on time, or, you know, I mean, those type of things happen on occasion, but one appraiser I have it's a personality issue. He doesn't get along with people. He's not a people person. So I usually suggest, if I know that for some reason someone said, yeah, such and such is coming out, you know, hey, why don't make sure your seller's agent is there, so then seller doesn't have to deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I usually only see those issues on a refi, normally not on a purchase. They wanna tell the appraiser the house is worth this, they wanna tell the, you know, and this appraiser's just not cheap. Yeah.
What's the third party?
If anyone on Zoom has questions, you can unmute yourself and ask them. Also, just wanted to let you know.
Sorry.
I have one more question.
Okay.
The appraiser that we had come in, what did you say his name was?
Lee Frambeck is the one that came here.
So he had talked about, and this was new to me, because I had 2 issues. And Matt will probably touch on it, but they can't go back as far as they used to.
Right.
When he talked about it, it used to be like 6 months or 3 months. Now it's like 30 days.
90 days.
90 days. Okay, so that was what I was talking about, where it was like, that seems, because the market changes so
can't
much.
Never go back, it's just that it's not as accurate as it used to be.
Yeah.
You know, it used to, I mean, we do have a lot more home sales, obviously a lot more homes in our area now, that 90 days is a ton more accurate. If he goes back 6 months, he's got to do a lot of explaining.
Got
They also touched on seasonality,
it.
how that's taken into account.
Yep.
or that can be difficult if it's not.
Right, so like he was saying that sometimes, he'll go back and compare an April sale to an April sale of last year, because that's when the market was at its hottest, but like I said, he has to dig in the weeds and say why he used that property and why he thinks that's a value.
Or
Because houses sell for so much more in April than they do in.
Or it's an in-demand house too,
Right.
is another issue, like if it's exorbitant Dundee, where you're gonna have multiple offers.
Right, but you have very few sales, cause
Correct.
very few things come up at those times, yeah, so that's another reason he would go past that 60 or 90 days or 6 months.
Yeah.
So I have a unique-ish situation. I just had an appraisal come in low on an FHA. But we found out that this property was actually under contract prior with another FHA loan. We're not going to dispute it at this point because the appraisal was done the beginning of May. Because it was already under contract
Right,
and we're also FHA
okay, so why was the second appraisal even ordered?
because we didn't know.
Well, but when they pulled an FHA case number, the property address should have been the same, they should have had the opportunity to pull a second appraisal.
We just found that out.
Got it.
And so when we just got the appraisal report and we received the appraisal report and we just found out that it was ordered and it came back from the original, that's how we found out. And are now piecing it all together.
Got
And
it.
we're
So
saying,
you
okay.
didn't get a second appraisal,
No,
the
we
first
didn't.
appraisal was the one that was low, and you just found out that there was another appraisal out there.
So yeah, so
Got it.
we ordered it and this is the first appraisal is the one that we received. We never received a second appraisal.
Got it.
And so that's the appraisal that we're obviously using.
Right, and FHA requires you to use it
Yes,
for 6 months.
yes. So we're not gonna dispute it because this was done in May. We're months past that. We're not even going to attempt to, but now the listing agent is upset because it's like, this is ridiculous.
Right,
The listing agent is not very experienced. But I mean, how would we even go about disputing an appraisal that was done almost 3 months ago?
I mean, it could be done, you would have to, same thing, a reconsideration of value. But again, the buyer would have to be okay with it, and the appraiser could make comments stating that, this or better comps that have sold since in this time frame.
Yeah.
I don't think it'd be a hard sell to do that, but
Okay,
it is possible.
okay.
Yeah, but if your buyer's already got the lower price.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, yeah, if it FHA does have the name of the appraiser,
Yeah, FHA would have the appraiser.
yeah, it'd be done through FHA,
yeah,
so they would be able to contact.
right. Cause it just seems like we kind of were misled,
Right.
really,
Yeah,
is the
but-
issue.
Had it gone conventional and they didn't sell it FHA, you'd have never known that other appraisal was out there or that it was low.
Right.
But yeah, that's, in my opinion. Not that the listing agent has to put that out there, they don't.
Right.
But once they accepted an FHA offer, they should have been aware that that appraisal follows the property.
Right,
Okay.
but
they
now,
accepted
but now
FHA
that
offer.
it's, yeah,
So that's, yeah.
and it's
On the
months past, and then we go back to the appraiser, and now we wanna fight it 3 months later.
Yeah,
Wouldn't the appraiser be like, I did this 3 months ago?
right. Well, and he might be able to pull new comps,
Sure.
and just explain that the market has picked up since then, or that,
Okay.
the values in this area have gone up due to other sales. And this is a new contract, so I mean, you could certainly dispute it if you wanted to.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the appraiser would have a good leg to stand on if there's more recent comps, because the buyer didn't buy it in that same market.
There's not.
This buyer bought it in July.
Surprise.
Yeah.
This one. No, great question.
What are your chances to actually get it changed or overturned?
It really.
If you had to put it to a number?
I would say less than 10%. I think 90% of the time the appraiser knows what they're doing. And I'm not saying that the other comps aren't always good comps, but usually they're not as good of comps as what the appraiser has already pulled. And we have an underwriting system, an automated underwriting system that kind of puts those appraisals, they put them into a an AI system is what I'm guessing.
Yeah.
That spits out other viable comps. And so sometimes if we're below value, a lot of, in those instances before I go to a reconsideration of value, sometimes the underwriter will say, hey, well, these other comps popped up. Do those help you with value? And so, again, we still have to have permission from the buyer to go with a reconsideration of value, but in that case, I might not even need to order all this if my underwriter can override the value that's in there.
I don't want to be a negative Nelly and I don't want to step on your toes, but generally that AI system, I've been on the other end, on the appraisal side. And I've had to answer the questions on those AI generated comps and generally those are horrible. They generally either pull larger houses or very small houses or comps that aren't even comparable. And I've had to answer like, this isn't comparable at all. It's way too updated or it's not updated enough or, you know, the adjustments would be way off, out of line. I've had to answer those questions then, yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes they do cause the underwriter to ask questions like those,
Yeah.
hey, why didn't you use this comp? That seems similar. But it's off of that AI generated system. They're asking that, they're not out in the weeds
Yeah.
and knowledgeable about every property in Nebraska.
Not all of them, but they're better when they come from a person.
I figured.
AI is great, but doesn't.
Not always.
Replace
Right.
the human. Well, thank you very much. Any other questions for Misty? I mean, obviously you can ask them throughout, but I know you have bulk of the content.
I do.
Yeah.
I'm actually gonna share my computer. Or my screen, I should say. Okay. And AI, of course, popped up.
Oh, I'm sure.
Actually, that's not what I wanted. I wanted to Zoom. All right, so out of college, I should start, but I've been looking at houses since I was young.
Real quick,
Should
should
work.
we be seeing your screen at the moment?
Yes, you
Is
should.
it?
No, it should not be that. It should be not a clue. It should be talking about not that screen. Wow.
Okay.
Helped it.
You didn't have to call
Remember you paused it.
Yeah, resume. And the screen pops up. Don't tell me everything has to be up here.
I think so. Where's your thing at? Click stop share. I'll just share again. Yeah, no.
It's always.
So
Yeah, it must.
just put that down. Start with down.
All right.
There you go.
See these then?
Yep.
Nope.
So you'll
have
just
to
have to do
open
one
it.
by one.
Oh, here's Lord. Okay. All right, so I've been looking at houses since I was young. Always been interested in developments. Went into every open house every weekend that I could. Met different agents, different builders. I remember every single floor plan that I've ever been in, every single house. I have a very vivid picture mind memory. So right out of college, I got a job at Mitchell and Associates, started just basically pulling county data, quickly went into the commercial side of things, did pulling data for them. And then Greg Mitchell, which hopefully a lot of you know, which is the CEO / appraiser of Mitchell and Associates. He does not own it anymore, and he is actually retired now. I became his full-time assistant. So I learned a lot from him, did a lot of work for him. So that is why I have pulled up Mitchell and Associates. I do recommend a lot of the appraisers that work there. So if you ever get one from them, a lot of their appraisals are complete. Any appraisals that I ever get and read, I am like, where's the information I'm looking for? It's not in there. So the stuff that I get from them, it's still in there, so I still love their appraisals. So what I'm gonna move on is I'm actually gonna walk you through what I actually do, and I am gonna be stopping and sharing screens because I can't seem
This
to
one's
just.
showing.
Yes, this one is showing up. The way I do my CMAs to actually stop from hopefully getting the reconsideration of values or problems down the road, and I wish. Sorry, everybody. I wish there was a way to,
So let's see.
yeah, there's not.
But
Is there?
with.
Yeah, entire screen.
For us.
There you go.
So I think maybe that should, yep, now I can see all your tabs down below,
Okay.
so you should be good.
Good. All right, so I've created a Zoom, or not Zoom, a Excel document. And basically it looks like the grid of an appraisal. And it does everything for you. So I've gone in and filled in a subject already with the pertinent information. So we're gonna kind of work on the 4603 North 126th Avenue. Thank you, Jay, for allowing me to use that. So we're gonna search for our comps, and I'm gonna show you how basically an appraiser searches for comps. And just basically give you how then we expand, because when I did it just the basic way, I did have problems last night. And I wanted to actually show you how we progress in when we have problems. So status, we always search solds and sometimes pendings. When we do pendings, we like to confirm them. So that means we do generally, that was my job with Greg. I called and generally said, hey, my name is Matt Circo. I work with Mitchell and Associates. I'm Greg Mitchell's assistant. I'm calling because I need to confirm the pending sale for X property. Any information you give me today will be strictly confidential. And then I ask my questions. As an agent, I still, if I am doing a CMA like this, I still do like to make those calls on the pendings. And I still generally keep that information confidential to myself because I am still trying to gather the most recent information. Some agents are willing to give that, some aren't. It just depends. Of course, depending on your agent, some like to get confirmation from their sellers or buyers. And that is understandable. So subject property, single family residence. Is it attached? This one is not. And actually, before I continue here, I am going to show you the photos of this home. We'll quickly run through these so everyone knows what subject we're working with. For finishes.
And Jay, is this your?
This-
Okay.
Yeah. New
So-
carpet, fresh paint, and a lot of exterior work, but they had lived there for 30 years. So it's mostly original. Yes, as we're going through, you notice that, it's of cabinetry, but we still have the original, like the marble, cultural marble countertops. It does look like it's fresh paint, newer carpet. Unfinished basement. We do have a floor plan. I do want to stop here, and so this would be a subject. So if I'm looking at other comps, I do want to make a stop here and mention this. For agents, when you're gathering floor plans and measuring properties or taking it off of county for your square footage, if you do gather your square footage off of the photos where they make floor plans, I would recommend not taking your square footage off of here. Generally, those floor plans state down here that they are interior dimensions only. And ANSI requires you to take those measurements from the exterior of the home. So basically, you're already shooting yourself in the foot by using this square footage, as it only takes it from the interior.
And these don't match the county either. That's why I always use
Correct.
Douglas County measurements. And don't ever use previous agents when it's been listed before, because a lot of people just cut and paste through that. And I've seen a lot that are off.
I would always highly recommend you get a measurement done from a third party. There is a guy that still does it. He used to be an appraiser, and last time I talked to him, he still measures a house for about $100. So it is worth it. Honestly, this one is actually done pretty good. They have a total of 2,008 square feet. Like you guys know, I said that I had looked at houses all my life. This house was actually built by Signature Homes, and the square footage on this was 2,058.
So I'll give you one last thing. There's an app now called QB Casa, CUBI Casa. And that's what they use for this. And it's all through your iPhone. And you just walk around, it's like a minute from Matterport. And then AI creates all of this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
50 square feet off, not bad.
No, it's pretty close.
Do
Pretty close.
you pay for it?
It's like, there's a free version that works, and then otherwise I think it's $15 a month.
Okay.
So Lisa Harbin here, that's an agent, does all my photography and does all this for me. But they use it. And then I have clients now who've started using it themselves for like rehabs and that kind of stuff.
Okay, so back to choosing our comps. We will go down to our square feet. So in square footage, we go 100 square feet less and 100 square feet more than what our subject is. So our subject is, I entered that incorrectly. No, I didn't. Okay, 2166 was from,
If you don't have something within 100 on both sides, do you then just keep expanding, like 100, then 250, then 500, like something like that?
we'll get there.
Okay.
We will get there. We do not use total finished square feet because we'll also get there. I don't want to discuss that yet.
I was gonna ask that next, so it's really.
All right, so closing date. I have already written, sorry, I go to the wrong one all the time. You'll see me kind of click around. I hope that doesn't annoy you. I wrote that up here. So the date of this sale, which is generally contract date, is 4/25/25. So we're trying to go back in time. And we are going to go back 4 months. Or 3 months, excuse me. All right, we have 248 within the whole city. Right now, I do know that this area, which is Tranquility View, I believe, has 0 at this point from searching last night. So what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to do a radius search. So I'm gonna enter the property address.
So here's where everything went wrong on this one. Is that we used this tool and the appraiser did not. We went then to school district because Tranquility View has very few that sell. So then we amped out to school district and he used a different tool, but we wanted to go west and north. Cause we had comps for it, but he went south and east across Maple
You
Street.
know what tool he used?
I don't.
No.
And
Is that something they would share? If you-
not really, and he was very challenging to work with.
Got
It turned into kind of, it felt more of an ego issue, like wasn't a conversation at all. So yeah, that's where from this spot, everything went sideways.
So even being an appraiser's assistant, my issue is that ego. My knowledge also extends with, since I know my houses and I know my neighborhoods, I also know where these houses were built. So I know I have comps over here in Woodland Park. That's basically where these models were in Woodland Park. So I searched half of a mile from the subject. So we're not even picking up comparables in Woodland Park. So basically what I need to do is I need to edit that circle to include Woodland Park. And so far, what do we have?
So he used comps from Woodland Park.
Okay,
We wanted to use the comps from Hillsborough, which we explain, I mean, we know that we need to take money off the Hillsborough houses because that is a much higher priced neighborhood in Woodland Park and Tranquility. And so even trying to adjust it that way, because we had identical houses, we couldn't get that done.
all right. So right now, so far, we only have one comp. That's not gonna work. We need at least three. When I like to run my numbers, I like to run at least 4. So basically what I start to do is I generally like to screw with, I'm very blunt, sorry. So I like to mess with square footage first. Still, again, only one. Now we've got 2. I'm gonna go a little bit smaller to about 1900 square feet. I know I get 4,
And so you generally adjust it in increments of 100?
generally, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
And when you do your radius instead of moving to a school district,
yeah.
okay, and why is that?
Generally radius is better. The only time I would take into account a school district is if it's like if we're in Regency between West Side and Omaha. But generally even then in Regency, you don't see much of a difference, even adjust for it.
Okay.
So the one good thing with Mitchell and Associates is while I was there, they had stacks, it was almost like library, stacks and stacks of appraisals. I mean, it was papers at that time, so nothing was digitized. You could ask me for an address and I could basically go pull the file. They basically had comprised all of the adjustments, and they did at that time create a comp adjustment sheet. This sheet is not supposed to exist because USPAP, which is basically the rules for appraisers, is not supposed, like I said, not supposed to exist. I did sort of update it by talking to one of the appraisers there the other day, or I should say last week. So I have gone through and basically updated this. I have looked at appraisals, recent appraisals, and these adjustments still fit those. They are ranges because you can't say, okay, this bathroom is worth this much. This is worth that much. No one is that good to say this is that much. There's always going to be a range for value. So you can't ever contact an appraiser and say, hey, per the CMA adjustment sheet, because basically, like I said, the sheet is not supposed to exist. It is just a guideline of where things can lay per value. So back to pulling our comps. Right now, we are 1,900 to 23. I would like to get, you know, a couple more so we can actually see what's out there. I am gonna go back because I don't want to extend our square footage anymore. Generally, the max square footage you want to go to is 500 above and 500 below. I am gonna go back one more month.
When would you add in style? Like 2-story versus, because we had a 1-story cell across the street. That was
Thank you.
a problem.
I did forget that. Style always stays the same as your subject.
Okay.
And that did knock us out too. Which. There we go. So I give this our 6. Thank you, Jane. I appreciate that. I did forget style. If you have a 2-story, you compare it to 2 stories. If you have a ranch, compare it to ranch. 1.5 stories, 1.5 stories, multi-levels to multi-levels. Pardon me. You never want to compare it to something different because everything costs different to build. It's the same for when people are looking for. All right, so now we have 6 comparables. I've already chosen, but we're gonna actually go look at why I chose those. Just kind of by the photos. This is actually in that stone gate, which per the map is started with a W, I can't remember off the top of my head. But it was in that Woodland Park neighborhood. So I know this is the same color. Only 3 bedrooms. I know that by looking last night. So comparing a 3-bedroom to a 4-bedroom, I usually get a lot of questions about, well, are there any adjustments for 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, 5-bedroom? There should never be adjustments from a 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, 5-bedroom. The reason is people don't they do see it, but they don't see it per paying for a house. The only time you generally see it is if like you have a ranch that has a 1-bedroom on the main level and all the bedrooms are in the basement compared to a ranch that's got 3 bedrooms on the main level and 1 bedroom in the basement. Or you have a split entry that used to have 3 bedrooms, now only has 1 because they took the other 2 bedrooms and created 1 large master. And then everything else in the market still has 3 bedrooms, so it's like a 1 out. Then basically all your other comparables are, you know, a 3-bedroom split entry. So you have to use the 3-bedroom split entries. That's when you're basically making that adjustment. So we already know that this is a comparable. The only thing that would make this not a comparable is if it was way updated. Everything brand new. Like totally rebuild, new construction, never compare new construction with existing. I know sometimes that's you'd want to, but it's frowned upon.
Does a walkout basement add a lot of value?
Get there. So this one I was a little hesitant to use, but I am going to. The reason I'm hesitant to use is sometimes as appraisers, and I'll also get there, is if we look out back here, our view is of a lake. And we also noticed that a lot of this house is very original.
So
we'll
it's a
have-
2-story or 1.5?
It's a 2-story. So we will have to make adjustments for that. And this does sit basically up to the lake. This one is another comparable. And it is in Hillsborough. It's mostly original, so it is very comparable to our subject. We'll go through these a little slower. Again, another comparable. Kitchen might be a little nicer. But again, still original. Another comparable. Looks like they replaced some of the floors.
Oh, is it virtually staged?
It is virtually staged, so as an appraiser, I have to take off the sunshine glasses. At the subject, they had original laminate countertops. These are granite. And then since we have 6, we have to look at this one. So if we look at it, it is in Hillsborough. It is for 475,000. Where the rest of these are 410 and under. So I have to decide, am I going to use this? Is this an outlier? Well, looks like we have brand new floors, new carpet, new paint, new light fixtures. The kitchen looks a lot newer. Some original.
3-car garage.
3-car garage. Thank you, Jay. New bathroom. Maybe some original. Finished basement. Ours did not. Little bigger. Definitely bigger per total because of the finished basement. So I would probably not use this one because of that finished basement. We'd have to adjust for it. We'd have to adjust for the 3-car garage. So to be honest with you, this one would be off the table because of those things. There is an adjustment threshold that we can't go over. So this one basically would be off that table. We don't want to risk that in the end. So basically, we would not use this one. So basically, I chose the first 5 on that list. So basically, then we just go to filling out the grid. And for the view that I use the all details field because it's easier to find the items I need. And I'll make not an eight, I'm gonna take off my agent hat, and I'll put on my appraiser hat, as long as the agent filled out all the fields on the input sheet. Quote. So the sale price. 3,399. Loan type does not usually matter. Date of sale doesn't usually matter unless, of course, they use it further out. Days on market doesn't generally matter. Again, unless it's something that's an outlier, like it's been on the market, forever. And canceling and relisting generally should not trip up the appraiser. For me, I always went back and went, okay, it's been on the market for 1 day, but did they relist? Yes, they did. So 16 plus 1. Did they relist? Yes, they did. So it's location. So if you're showing, if it's an older home, location, most houses out west are gonna be residential. But if you're showing like, or if it's an older home, I always go into GIS. And basically, what is around the property? Is it residential? Is there some commercial around it? Does the property, like, I did a house that basically, it was a house on Maple Street and it was surrounded by commercials, so basically, it was commercial. The house had a permit to be residential still, so it was residential, but it was still a commercial area. This is residential. Site. I can show you guys where to get that if the screen stops popping up. I went too far. 9380. Our view on this one is residential. So our view is, of course, what do we see out the backyard? We see residential. We do see apartments, but that is still residential. It is a 2-story. Basically, these are all 2 stories, so that's what we searched for. So I'm just gonna fill all these out so I don't have to do it later. All construction, all Q3. And year built, these all should be built around the same time. We'll go through the comp adjustment sheet on that. Basically, we shouldn't be making any adjustments on date because they should all around the same date. And that's up here, 1992. And our condition of that property. As we went through, basically, any home that is existing is going to be a C3 because it's been lived in. The only time a property that should be a C2 is basically if it's been vacant and been redone. If that's the case, then there'll be an adjustment. New construction is generally C1.
What kind of things make it a C4?
C4 is C4 is generally when you start to see deferred maintenance. And it's generally severe deferred maintenance. Like, it's not just like, oh, the roof needs to be replaced. It's severely,
I had heard
be
that
severely replaced.
maybe that standards for Q3 versus Q4 have kind of changed in the last
They
year
are.
or so, that appraisers are looking at that a little bit differently. What has changed or different?
Honestly, I'd have to ask, but I know they're changing.
Yeah. That you're seeing more
Um,
Q4s than you used to.
Do you mean Q4 or C3?
Or I'm sorry, C4 versus C3.
So I'd have to look that up. I know that the quality and the conditions are starting to change
Yeah.
a little bit. While I was for quality, while I was an assistant, I was assistant for about 5 years.
Yeah.
I always questioned quality. Why are we saying celebrity? And I'm apologizing if anybody loves them, but they do have their place. But we always did Q3 for celebrity. And I'm like, no, they're Q4. They have their place, I get it. But we shouldn't be, for every other Q3 that's out there, we shouldn't be having that at the same value just to make this match. Just because celebrity wants us to. I didn't want to rub anybody the wrong way, but.
Is quality going into?
But quality is starting to change as well.
Yeah.
You're starting to see more Q4s out there. But I do know condition is starting to change too.
Yeah. And I had condition in my head when I was saying that, but we were talking about quality, but yeah.
But yeah, quality is starting to change. These, if I had to really place this house, it is probably a 3.5.
Okay.
So I really wish there were 0.5s in
Yeah.
there, but there are.
Yeah, makes sense.
What's the determining factor between the two again, one more time? I know you said it somewhere in there, but
So
the maintenance.
the maintenance, yeah. A 2 is basically if this house were vacant, an investor came in and updated everything.
Like
And
a
did it well.
cosmetic.
Cosmetic roof, mechanicals,
Okay.
everything would make it a C2. Yeah, or if it burnt down and they redid everything, that would make it a C2. And did it really well.
And so Q3 to Q4, what's the difference between those two?
You have to know your houses.
So like celebrity, like you mentioned, you said those
Yes,
were
that's a
Q4s.
Q4.
And so, I don't know, you know everything, right? So like, let's say celebrity compared to DR report. Are they in the
They're
same
both
category?
Q4s.
Same.
Yes.
So like if you go to like Hallmark Homes, would that be Q3
Or Pinecrest or something.
or Pinecrest?
Pinecrest is a Q3.
Okay, it's like a step up. Makes sense. Sweet.
Sometimes it comes down to just the finishes and the quality of the workmanship.
Correct.
Thanks.
How? So like on a car, fit and finish,
Where you're
And then-
you're probably going like.
and then what's underneath. Because I've been in a house that say, it's 2x6 construction. And yes, I do go in houses that are not finished. I've been in it that advertise 2x6. Front and back are 2x6, sides are. This is not 2x6 construction. Sorry.
Gotcha.
And they're high price point. And you're trying to compare quality homes. Not cool.
Glad you say that. Not everybody's that honest.
Oh, I'm honest.
It's true
So I know this one has 4 bedroom. Oh, excuse me. This is the 3-bedroom one. So bathrooms on an appraiser adjustment table, half baths are, so the way they do it is they count. So full baths are the first column, half baths, their second column, and so on. So basically, they count how many are there of each. So there's 2 full baths or 3/4 baths. 3/4 baths are considered full. 1 half bath, and this is above grade. So this is what it matters when you guys fill in your input sheets. We have to know where the bathrooms, what levels they are located on. Otherwise, we have to rely on the photos. Or we have to rely on your photos, the more an appraiser gets annoyed. The more an appraiser gets annoyed. Right. So on this one, I come down here to this. And what am I seeing? Nothing. I know this floor plan. Basically 2 stories, modern age, generally have a half bath on the main level. So I assume, since I come here and I see 3 bathrooms, it counts a full bath or a half bath as a full here in the count total. I know it's 2.1. I can do that. But if there was a finished basement, I wouldn't know where, if there were 4 baths, I wouldn't know where that other one is unless I started looking at photos and then had to start doing deduction. Is this bathroom in the basement? Is this a bathroom between bedrooms? What is it, So I've had to do that. It takes longer. Like, I can figure, hey, there's a skylight. That bathroom must be on the top floor. This bathroom has a window. Hopefully it's on the 2nd floor. I can see trees, so clearly it's not in the basement. Unless it's daylight, but this is not a daylight basement. So this is 2.1. Above grade square footage. 1975. Basement. Generally, again, this does not matter, but for appraisal purposes, it has to be entered. I'm not going to put it in right now because, like I said, it doesn't matter. Finished basement, it's 0 on this one. Bedrooms below, 0. I know there's no baths. Right now for other below, there are no others below. We generally list like what rooms, like rec room, is there a bar? We like, if there is a full kitchen down there, we generally stay away from kitchen. The reason we stay away from saying kitchen is when I used to work at Mitchell and Associates, I was told to stay away from kitchen because someone did that one time and the lender came back and said, there's 2 kitchens, this must be a commercial property.
Used to be a big red flag that if there was 2 kitchens, then you had maybe an ADU, or you could use it as commercial, or there was lots of red flags. They don't seem to care anymore because so many have. It's more prominent in the market, so we don't see complaints about it as often.
We just generally still stay away from it and say full bar. So kind of know it means everything's included. Heating and cooling.
Geothermal give it more value?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Depends on the price value of the house. That's generally found in here, if it's filled out correctly. We can only write down what is input in here. And it just says heating, fuel, gas, forced air. Sorry. Energy efficient items, I didn't see anything listed. Again, if it was listed or said, we would read it. Reread everything, anything that's new. As agents, I understand that it's nice to give a description of living there to sellers as an appraiser, we hate it. It doesn't tell us anything about the property. It doesn't tell us what's new, it doesn't tell us the features, it doesn't, you know. And then, for example, it doesn't tell us, if there's a new roof or new mechanicals, it doesn't. Even though if there's no value to it, it does give it value in the purchase price, asking price. So if your value comes under and you call an appraiser up mad and you say, well, there's new roof, there's new mechanicals. And we say, well, we didn't know that. It's not in the MLS. I call it fluff. You gave fluff. That would be, in my response, understandable. This one is a two-part attached.
Is it helpful to an appraiser to like leave something at the property that says,
Leave it.
hey,
Yes,
this is what we have? Cause
I would.
I've heard some appraisers get really turned off by that.
I
You
think
know,
that's an ego thing too. I think
It's an ego thing.
Yeah, I think if you have decent appraisers, they want all the help they can get the value they need.
That is correct.
Would guess if you run across that situation anyway, you're probably gonna lose, like, they're gonna be a pain in the ass anyway. If they're gonna be a pain in the ass about that, they're gonna be a pain in the ass whether you leave it there or not.
That's true.
So
Their personality.
Yeah.
I loved Greg Mitchell. Yes, he could have an ego. But if you left him a sheet of the items that were brand new or the items that the house had, he would have loved it. Because that's extra things that he didn't have to do.
Yeah.
He didn't have to look up. I mean, he didn't have to do it anyways. He had me. But he would bring it to me and I didn't have to look it up. Making my job
To look
easier.
at it or not,
Um,
right? I mean,
Yeah.
so,
I mean,
yeah, that's.
he enjoyed it when I would recognize the house when I was inputting the grid and say, don't draw this. I'll bring you the floor plan. All you have to do is measure it and fill it in. And yes, we're running over.
Well, no, sorry, and I got a call, just like you did. So I was going back to this grid, incredibly thorough, and I love the tidbits that, you're also sharing along the way. I did have just one quick question. Is it always 5 comparables or?
It's not always 5.
Okay.
You have to have at least 3.
Gotcha.
I have had one where that I could only do 3. The reason I like at least 4 is because the way I do mine.
Mhm.
So I am gonna quickly,
I wanna know the value you came up with.
I didn't do it yet. I was gonna fill this in, so I'm gonna kind of finish this and then I'm gonna fill them in quickly. You guys got mine?
Well, I lost track of time. My apologies. I was wondering if maybe you'd want to highlight, or give an idea of what the rest of the process would look like.
Yeah.
And I kept track of who did attend if we wanted to follow up with the conclusion you came to after the fact.
This is, let me see, this has a porch, quickly, and patio. So when I do porches or patios, a lot of people think, if we remember like Jay's, this is a porch or a stoop. But when I actually give value to a porch or a stoop, I don't give value to this because you can't actually sit on it. It's something, can you?
The step.
Use it.
That's a step.
Yep.
So I only write down the ones that you can actually like sit on, like this one, you can actually, let me just open back up. Sit on it. Like there's an actual full porch. This one has one fireplace. This is another one where agents forget is fence. Sprinklers, another one agents forget to write in. So I have to assume it's not there. Unless they write it.
Is there a difference in value for a wooden fence and a chain link fence? Definitely a difference in cost.
There's a difference of cost. But no,
Okay.
Sprinklers?
sprinklers, yes.
Do you recall something about the information isn't there? Do you ever call the agent? Maybe that adds more time. So
It adds
I
more
mean,
time.
I'm just
So the
curious.
answer is
Not usually.
really.
Would you look at the seller disclosure on the sprinklers?
Sorry, what was that?
Would you look at the seller disclosure on the sprinkler since there's a question on that on the SPCD?
You know, we never did, but we could. I can't remember where they're at now. Here. Underground sprinkler, none. Okay, so what I'm gonna do basically here is I'm going to now show you how we do the comps or the adjustments. So if there were seller's concessions, we would take those out. But since there are none, sale, 0, 0, 0. Pretty much, it's easy. They're the same. Notice up here, I have up here in red, if the subject's better, we add value. If the comp is better, we subtract value. Deck, patio, porch and patio, same. So now we have to do the sprinkler. And our subject is better. And our subject has a walkout. So this is where I use my handy little sheet. So our values up here changed. This is why we ask you for the contract. As we need to kind of know where our measurement is. We need to know what adjustment to give it. Otherwise, we can give it kind of whatever we want. So we need to sort of know where to put your adjustment. So walkout. I know we're going to be in the $250,000 to $500,000 range. So our walkout's going to be between $8,000 to $12,000. If you've ever worked new construction, if you have an option to do a walkout, you sort of know the cost of adding that on. It's not always dollar for dollar. So basically, since we're probably going to sit in the middle here, I'm going to give it the middle value of $10,000. And what am I going to do? Subtract it or add it?
Property's nicer. Right?
Yes. Because the subject is better, it has the walkout.
I always think of that being backwards.
So then obviously.
In my head, it's backwards.
You take the comparable and make it to the subject.
Yep.
So right now, it is making the comparable subject to 350,000. Which, if we used the rest of these, it would give us a average. But we haven't done the square footage yet. That will automatically calculate as I throw the rest of these in, as it would give us a square foot for above and square foot for below. So I'm just gonna quickly do the prices, if that's okay.
So what was the appraised value? What was the purchase price? And what was the appraised
I
value?
tell you, it's
Yeah.
Meet sold price. 350.
I'll tell you, so we were at 360.
Okay.
And had an offer to accept that. They both needed long closings, so it all worked out great. And it came back at 340.
Okay.
But he also used a 1.5 story house as a comp. And would not use an identical floor plan that we had in the school district out in the radius. That was the exact house that sold for 370. So, but all of our people were willing, so the buyer came up $10,000, paid 10,000 at closing. My people reduced the price 10,000, so we met at 350.
Got it. Okay.
But in the end, any reconsideration of value is basically you telling the appraiser that they were wrong.
Right.
And they're probably
Yeah.
fighting uphill
They
battle
don't
for
love
them to admit that.
It really depends on your.
Yes.
This was really hard because
There's-
he's not from town.
Okay.
He doesn't live in Omaha.
And that's a problem.
Yeah,
And then he,
because are all of yours local?
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
the
that's,
lender,
Lee pointed that out.
myself, and the buyer's agent all provided comps that justified our price.
Yeah.
And then we were gonna do the reconsideration, but it takes 2 weeks with that lender.
And that's.
I was like, we don't have time.
Usually national.
And so are those changes adjusting your sorry, your calculations at the bottom?
They are.
Yeah.
They're adjusting calculations.
Gotcha.
But why did it do what I wanted it?
It's Excel. That's kind of how it goes.
So.
Yeah, any other questions, you guys? I mean,
That's
this is
because I don't have the square feet in that too.
incredibly thorough.
I have a question.
Kayla,
Sorry. At what point do you make an adjustment price wise for the above grade square footage being a certain amount less or a certain amount more? Like, is it, if it's over 300 square feet, is it?
So
Never.
that is what I'm getting to right now.
Okay.
Thank you guys.
If I put it in the right spot, that is what I'm getting to right now. This one had a finished basement. I should have done one that was actually filled out. Polling,
We're just gonna move faster.
yeah,
Now you know why appraisers get paid so much. Yeah, right.
I know there's some, Misty, you probably know this, like some appraisers that aren't local, like there's just a pool that it seems, I've just heard stories about. They're not always so great, and like certain big lenders seem to have like a very small pool of people that maybe aren't even local. Or, well, this guy was like from Blair or Fremont, somewhere
Right.
like that.
So we do have, we have to go through a third-party system, and our system is a national system just because we're a national company. But we only hire local appraisers, and we hire appraisers in their area. So like if we have a Blair person, you'll very rarely see somebody from Council Bluffs hopping over to Blair. You know, now a lot of Blair and Omaha appraisers do both,
Sure.
but they also have to have a certain amount of business that they've done in that area. So when they're vetted up front, they look, you know, have to send in past appraisals and things like that, but they have to have a certain number of appraisals done. They have to have a certain number of appraisals in each area, or we won't send them to that
This guy
area,
was also a realtor, Nebraska Realty,
right?
and a new appraiser.
Yeah, well, and we have one appraiser that, you know, will go anywhere. And sometimes when we try to get something in Murray, Nebraska, or, you know, that's really off the
Yeah.
chart, you know, we will send him to the oddest places, cause he'll go in a timely manner, and he doesn't like completely rake us on the trip charge. And so we do have, I mean, there are cases like that where we have to use somebody from outside the area because there isn't anybody in the area. Or that one person in the area that might be in Grand Island is stretched so thin, you know, that he's driving end of state to end of state that he can't get to it in a timely manner. So in those kind of types of instances, we'll make concessions. But he's very good at, you know, pulling comps and making sure, and he's very good at writing why he used the comps he did. So
Because sometimes
he's a good one to have.
from our side of it, it's really hard because there might not be comps that justify the exact price. And then I know that they put in $20,000 of work, they did that,
Right.
did that, and that there's only gonna be one of these houses on the market.
Yep.
So I think that's
That's-
where,
Places to leave your notes for the appraiser.
Yeah, that's
That
where
he can
it's
follow
hard.
the path you followed, and if he understands it and it makes sense, he'll probably use the path you followed. You know,
like this house I listed today in Country Club, there's a house that the Ericksons listed directly across the street. Mine was not fully redone, theirs was. Sold for, in this market, just like a month ago, $67,000 over this price.
holy cow, wow.
Yeah,
Holy.
Yeah.
I'm like, but we couldn't list ours for 500,000.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
You.
I filled in all of the above and below grade square footage, and I have it down here where it automatically does. So above grade square footage is about 1/3 to 1/2 of traditional. How do I word this? Normal per square foot price. Cause you have to basically, since we're adjusting for everything, you're taking all those components out of the house. So you're also taking those little price per square foot items out. So you're left with about 1/3 of the square footage amount left. So this is what's left for each of these houses. Does that make sense? Okay. So average across all there is $52.58. So basically what we're gonna do is normally appraisers just average that as $50. Across the board, the basement is half of what's upstairs. Now I'll just go through here and make sure that this makes sense. So this is less than the subject, so. Subject is better, so we're adding. This is bigger than the subject, we are subtracting. This is smaller than the subject, so we are adding. This is smaller than the subject, so we are adding, so good so far. This is bigger than the subject, so we are adding. Now we do the basement, that's 0, 0. We are subtracting. Are subtracting, so I need to find that my -1. And we are subtracting. So without any of the other adjustments, this is where we come in at price range. And we get roughly 370. But that's without any of the other adjustments.
Yeah, we were gonna start at like 365. I'm good.
That guy's ego is not as.
Do any of you have any other questions? I know a lot of you will probably want the grid. And a lot of you will want this comp adjustment sheet.
Yeah, that.
Just remember, this sheet does not exist when you talk to an appraiser. This is only a guide. This helps when you do this, price your house. This helps to overcome. You can list the house higher than you want, of course, but this helps overcome challenges down the road.
Thank you, this is good.
Very much.
But yeah, if you guys have questions, especially on Zoom, please talk, let me know, because I can't see anything.
thank you. I didn't, there's no questions in here at the moment, but, is that something that you would email out, or do you just want to send it to the people who attended? Is that, were you saying you would share?
I should.
Okay, we can talk about it.
Yeah.
Great, thank you both very much for your time.